Welcome to this Neurodiversity Celebration Week special webinar all about asking the experts with lots of frequently asked questions. And my goodness, we've got some great experts with us this evening, all brought to you from the fantastic Adult Dyslexia Centre. My name's Donna and I'm going to be your host, but let me do a bit of a round robin to who our experts are this evening. We've got Sue Flor MBE, who is the manager at ADC. Hi, Sue.
Hi, thanks very much, Donna, for setting this up this week. It's a very special week.
It
Do you want
is,
me
and
to
I think, sorry, I
spend?
was just going to say, I think a lot of people are talking about neurodiversity maybe during special awareness times like this. So tell us a bit about what you do at ADC and about the ADC itself.
Well, the ADC has been running now for about 25 years. It's set up for young adults who left school and had nowhere to go with their specific learning difficulties, mainly dyslexia. But I think these days we know that everybody doesn't fit nicely into one box. Some people have
Yes.
ADHD, some people have dyspraxia, ASD, many things. They all cross over, and we're there to help them all. We have a helpline. We are on the telephone as free service, and also a free email service. We run sessions for supporting people with neurodiversity
Yeah.
and courses and training. We're a one-stop shop.
Yeah, brilliant. It's a real wraparound service at ADC, which is wonderful, especially at a time like this when we're thinking a lot about neurodiversity. Kim, can I come to you? Tell us a bit about yourself.
Thank you, Donna. My name's Kim Brown, and I have been working with the ADC on a part-time basis for probably about 5 years, doing assessments and screening tests and some training. And my other job is at Transport for London, doing similar for them, but
Yeah.
more sort of workplace assessment focused and workplace support. And then I also do some assessments at a local college to me and
Brilliant.
assessments for exams. I'm very
Yeah.
pleased to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, well, we're very pleased to have you with us. And yeah, hopefully those listening to this, you'll get a sense already of the great experts we've got for you this evening. And Kath is no exception. Kath, good evening. Tell us a bit about yourself.
Hi, my name is Kath, and my background is in education, primarily primary education. And through that, I became more and more interested in supporting children with special needs and dyslexia in particular. And I then worked for a time on a dyslexia helpline. And I'm fairly new to the ADC, but I'm very happy to be here for the first
Yeah.
time. Thank you.
Brilliant. It's wonderful to have you with us, Kath. And from you guys, your expertise travels through somebody's life from childhood into adulthood, which is brilliant. And as I said, my name's Donna, and I am a trustee of the Adult Dyslexia Centre. I've been in this community now for over 20 years, so it's great to have your company. Now, we have selected some questions that, in our expert opinion, we get asked a lot from adults. So the focus tonight is for our wonderful adult community. And we know that adults are thinking a lot these days about assessment. So the first question is, how do I get an assessment as an adult? I think I might be neurodivergent. Where do I start? Stu, can I come to you first with this question, all about somebody right at the beginning of the journey in that way?
Ah, well, neurodivergent covers quite a lot, doesn't it? I think you've got to think really carefully which bit of me do I think needs assessing, because it's going to be different routes for different strands of neurodiversity. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because we primarily we're supporting dyslexic adults, and dyslexia in this country is not recognised as a medical condition, so that routes out. All right. So if we think about ADHD or ASD, I think the first port of call would be a GP. Ask them where you can go to be assessed. You'll probably find that's an awfully long list on the NHS. But that would be the first port of call. And then for dyslexia, I'm afraid it's going to be a different route. It's got to be an independent route. If you're employed, your employer might be able to help you, but definitely not the GP. And if beyond that, if your employer won't help you, if you're at university, they definitely will, or in a place of studying, you're bound to find help. But if not, you ring our helpline and we can offer assessments. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you, Sue. So this is for clarity because I know I certainly get asked this a lot. We're not necessarily reaching out to GPs for dyslexia, but
No.
autism and ADHD, we can start on that
Yeah.
particular journey. And I think that's where a lot of the confusion is here in the UK. Kim or Kath, anything to add to this about somebody who's just on the brink of looking to get assessed?
I think Sue pretty much covered it. Some people find taking a screening test to be quite
Okay.
helpful,
Yeah.
and you can find some of those online. If you're a bit unsure which one to use, you could ring the ADC helpline and get some guidance on a sort of popular current screening test. And for some people, that can feel enough to answer some of their questions.
Yeah.
I think
And
that's. Oh, go on.
Kim, I was just going to say, would one of you experts like to clarify what's the difference between a screener and an assessment? Because again, I think a lot of people maybe not understand,
Yeah.
is a screener just the same as an assessment? Kim, are you the right person maybe to guide us through that?
I don't know. I could try.
Yeah,
I think
have a go.
as an assessment pretty much is what we would call a full diagnosis, and you would result with a clear idea of what your difficulties are caused by, and the assessor is qualified to make that decision. A screening test is more of a self-administered tick box exercise, really, whereby it will flag up some specific indicators you might have
Yeah.
that might clarify the issues for you, but it's not an official diagnosis.
Okay, brilliant.
And I think the range of screeners is quite wide. They can, as Kim said, it can almost be a list of 10 things. Do you do this? Yes,
Yeah.
But equally, there are some that are more in depth that will give you more of a, perhaps scientific's not the right word, but more of an in-depth profile of your main strengths and weaknesses. So if you are looking at screeners, it is worth sort of exploring what's out there, because there's not one screener as such. There
Yeah.
are all sorts of different ways of approaching it. And the other thing that Kim's said is the only way of having a formal sort of legally accepted diagnosis of dyslexia is to have the full assessment. However, some places, particularly workplaces, will accept a screener as evidence of someone's dyslexic traits, but it's not an official diagnosis. So really it's worth, before you decide perhaps to have a full diagnostic assessment, it is perhaps worth exploring with your employer whether a screener would fit the bill, at least to begin with.
Yeah, that's really wise words. Thank you, Kim. Sue, I didn't know if you wanted to come back in after Kim had shared.
Yeah, I think that goes on to the next question, I think, really.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think, where the waiting list is really long, or you can't afford an assessment, a screener might well be adequate, especially for something like a driving test. Isn't that right, Kim? Yeah? Would it be accepted if you want special arrangements for that?
It will. They do stipulate which ones they will accept.
Yeah.
But you can find them on the .gov website, and they will accept, I think it's 2 screeners with a small cost. They're screening tests that generate a report, and they are in the region of around about £30.
Yeah.
And I think as well, if it's an employer and they are not sure if to accept a screener, saying to them, look, these are the screeners that the DVLC will accept is helpful, because it gives it some sort of, official recognition almost, rather than them just think, well, where did you get this screener from? What is it? So, yeah.
Yeah, that's really wise words, actually, guys, because that's a good filter, even if you're not necessarily maybe thinking for driving. If it's a trusted screener that's on the government website, maybe that's a good North Star to figure out where to go. Sue, I know how heavily you're connected to the helpline. If folks are concerned about, I'm not sure what screener to look for, is ADC helpline a good place to go to ask what's a trusted
or you can find a checklist on our website, and we do offer a screening test, which is really well recognised, and we can write an accompanying report to go with it if a person needs it for a special purpose, like a legal situation, or to explain their difficulties, or for a first step to actually show to their employer to if they don't know how to explain their difficulties, and they can say, look at this. Yeah, but this is for dyslexia. Yeah, but I'm sure that there are other screening tests out there for ASD and ADHD as well.
Yeah.
When it's not forthcoming. But in the
There
meantime
are.
as well, I think you're going to ask me that, aren't you? What do you do if you can't get the assessment? I
Well,
mean,
yeah, I mean, these questions are linked. You're right. Before
Yeah.
we move on to that, Kim, I didn't know if you wanted to share just then.
Oh, I was
Sorry.
going to say that I was just going to pick up from what Sue said about
Yeah.
other areas of neurodiversity. There are screening tests.
Mm.
And if you go to the sort of often the charity or the foundation associated with that neurodiversity, that they'll have screening tests, or some of them have helplines.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that can be a good call as well. Sorry,
Yeah,
Sue, you were going to finish
That's a
saying.
great actual heads up, I think, Kim, to
Yeah.
go to if you're concerned about autism, want to find out more, National Autistic Society and so on. So yeah, that's a great heads up actually. Thank you, experts. And we've kind of been answering number 2 as well, because how can we not? Because it's about waiting lists and so on. So the question is, if we are looking to get an assessment and waiting lists are years long, and literally we know people are on long waiting lists with GPs for autism and ADHD, what can we do while we're waiting? So Sue, you started to say that a screener could be a good next step. Anything else that we can do whilst we're on these waiting lists?
We can join one of our support groups. We've got a support group online or face to face. You don't have to have a diagnosis to be included and looked after by us. So I think that's a good point. You can find details on our website of how to join in. And well, definitely with the face to face group at the moment, there are some workshops on how to manage your life and improve yourself while you're sitting there waiting. You're not alone.
Yeah, love it. Thank you, Sue.
Yeah.
So it's this idea maybe about finding the community, getting support. I think it's probably also worth saying here that for those who are in the world of work, self-identification is enough under the Equality Act to be able to get support. So your employer doesn't need from you, in quotes, evidence that you are neurodivergent through an assessment. And I get asked that a lot in terms of, do I need the assessment in order to get support? The answer is no. But on the back of all that, Kim, have you got any thoughts? Because I know part of your role at ADC and your other jobs is about doing assessments with adults in terms of workplace needs assessments and so on. I would love to hear your thoughts about what do we do if we're on a long waiting list?
Yeah, and I think you're right. I think an adult at work could request a workplace needs assessment, either through Access to Work, which is taking us into our next question,
Yeah.
actually.
It is linked, yeah.
Or but you could request your employer funded one. Some people do both, depending on the situation at work. And I think some workplaces also have their own communities and their own sort of diversity groups and support groups. So particularly if you're in a big workforce, you could look within the workforce, approach the diversity team or occupational health to see if there's support groups or systems in place, or a champion. Sometimes they're called champions, and they're employees that have named themselves as someone that you can go to for some confidential ideas. So yeah, did I answer the question there?
You did very well, actually, because it reinforces the idea of that self-discovery journey about finding out what ADHD, autism, dyslexia means to you. And it sounds like from you and Sue, one of the ways we do that is by connecting with other folks and kind of listening in and having those conversations as well.
The other place to think of looking is if you're a member of a union or a professional body like the Royal College of Nursing. I know they have some things on their website. So, almost think about any sort of organisation that meets your, it is involved in your own field. And more and more unions and professional bodies are producing information to help people.
Yes. Yeah, love it, Kath. And ACAS as well have got some great
Yeah.
information now. So I love that. I think that's a great heads up about going to unions and trusted voices, maybe at a more formal level that are there for us as adults. So thank you. That's a great heads up if we're on a long waiting list, which for some of us, that sadly that is the case. Which brings us nicely on to, and these questions we know they're interlinked, is about access to work. What does it actually provide? And kind of, yeah, what is it? Would I be a good fit for it? So, Kim, would you like to start us off in terms of setting the scene for what access to work is? What can it do for us?
Sure. So access to work is a government a section on the .gov website, and it's a funding mechanism for anyone at work with a disability. So you can either be at work on a sort of PAYE or self-employed.
Yeah.
So we often send people to access to work because they can get the workplace needs assessment that we mentioned earlier, which would mean you make the application on the .gov website, and it's actually quite quick. It's quite a quick and straightforward form. And I know lots of people don't like forms, but it is quite quick and short. And then that form generates the allocation of a caseworker to you, who would then meet you either online or in person to go through your job and the sort of pinch points of your job that your hidden disability is causing difficulties with, and would be recommending solutions. And of course, every job is different. So solutions need to be tailored to the certain aspects of your job. And then there's a slightly complex funding mechanism that kicks in, whereby depending on it, I won't go into detail, but it's based on access to work paying for quite a large percentage of the support, and the employer paying for a smaller percentage of the support. And shall I go into the support, or did you want to, Kath?
I think, yeah, I mean, Kim, start us off if you like, and then we can ask Sue and Kath to share as well on the back of that.
So a really helpful part of access to work, what people often feedback is really useful, is they can get what we call workplace coaching.
Yeah.
And that's where they would meet with a dyslexia specialist to look at different aspects of their job that might be difficult and sort of go through solutions and ideas. And that can really range from helping you to be more organized with your calendar and your day and setting priorities, to helping you with your literacy skills if those are impacting on you at work. So that's a really good, useful component. And then the other component of access to work funding is around technology and software.
Yeah.
So I don't know if someone else wants to go into it.
Yeah, well, that you've set the scene really well there, Kim, and strategy coaching makes a huge impact. So thank you for sharing that. I think access to work is still really comfortable with funding that. We know again there's issues around long waiting lists and so on, but it's really worth persevering with. And now you've given us that heads up, Kim, about the technology. Sue or Kath, I don't know if you guys want to chip in and pick up where Kim's left off about that.
I mean, the technology is becoming even, more and more important, and also more accessible for people, because a lot of it is built into our devices. Just a quick sort of idea of what your device could be doing. If you go into settings and then accessibility, there are all kinds of things you can switch on or off, and each device is slightly different. So it's a case of playing around to find what fits you. Things like Microsoft Word has something called Immersive Reader, which is built in. Again, have a play around, see what works for you, because with any of these solutions, there's no one size fits all. It really is a case of thinking very carefully about what are your difficulties, what strategies you've developed to help you, and how you can build on those. And this is the same with the technology. What is difficult for you? Explore on your device, do some, online searching, because there is so much out there, and there are specialist tools that can be bought, but it is a good idea to just start and see what's available to you, because you need to learn to use these things as well, you know. So it is a lot of, you know, at first it can feel more, it's making more work than it's saving, but actually, you know, all these things, practice makes perfect, hopefully.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you, Kath. And I like this idea about playing around and looking at accessibility parts of what's on our systems. Um, Sue, would you like anything to add to what Kath's just said? Am I right in thinking then, guys, and Sue, you probably know the answers to this, that we can get support in somebody showing us how to use the
Yes, yes.
technology as well as the technology being funded?
Yeah. They can they can fund training in the different aspects of the assistive software. Another thing they will fund is training for the person's line manager to understand their difficulties, and for colleagues to understand. So perhaps a training course, you know,
Yeah.
that will benefit them. They will fund that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it sounds like it's a scheme that does its absolute best to bring down barriers for the individual through
Yes.
coaching, technology, and so on, and then a broader where the person may work as well to raise awareness and so on, which is brilliant. Okay, so that's access to work. And again, Sue, am I right in thinking if folks are still unsure about this
Yeah.
scheme, they can reach out to the helpline at
Absolutely.
ADC, yeah,
Absolutely.
and get
Yeah.
some
You can talk them through it.
guidance.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much. Okay, experts, we're on next question. How do I talk to my employer about being neurodivergent? Should I disclose, and that's the word that we often use in this context, my diagnosis at work? Kath, can I come to you to start us thinking about this one?
There's no right or wrong answer to this. You know, you can disclose as little or as much as you want. What you do have to be aware of is if you choose not to disclose the difficulties that you're having, then you won't be able to get any help because nobody will know, you know, what you're struggling with. Whether that's you know, disclosing an official diagnosis or just disclosing your difficulties anyway. So that you need to sort of think about what you're willing to share in order to help people to understand where you need support. I think that would be the first thing I say. There's no legal obligation to disclose a diagnosis of dyslexia, for example. A lot of it is about understanding your difficulties and deciding how you're going to share them and the help you're going to ask for. And I was going to say this when talking about access to work as well.
Yeah.
Before you do any of these things, it really is worth spending some time thinking about your strengths and weaknesses, so that you almost know what you're asking for. Because sometimes, you know, if you disclose to your employer that you're dyslexic, they may not know how to help you, you know, because one person's dyslexia will not be the same as everyone else's dyslexia. So it is worth sort of deciding what you want to share and how you want to share it in order to enable people to support you in the best way that they're able to.
Yeah, really like that answer. Thank you, Kath. So it's kind of like a step-by-step journey that you're taking your employer on about who you are. And this, I think, guys, comes back to what we'd said a bit earlier about trying to be your own best expert so that then you can share that back by reaching out to the community and so on. Sue or Kim, anything to add to Kath's brilliant thinking on this one? How do we share? Am I obliged to share? Where are we at with that stuff?
It can be really difficult for people, and sometimes a trusted colleague is a good first step
Yeah.
to sort of sound them out and what do they think and how might you express yourself to your manager. Or you can go to, if your workplace has got an HR department or an occupational health department, you could request a meeting there and to find out and to get some support really with your next steps. And some people feel that they can go straight to their manager and have a very open and honest and trusted conversation. It's kind of about your own psychological safety, really, isn't it? And what you feel comfortable with doing, along with knowing that you are protected under the Equality Act if you do have a neurodiversity at work. But for some people, that still can leave them feeling, I don't want to use the word unsafe, but some people do feel very nervous about disclosing their difficulties.
Yeah.
But I think as well, we need to, sorry, Donna, we
No,
need to
please.
remember as you're disclosing your difficulty, it's that idea of a sandwich. You can actually say, I'm really good at this. I'm
Yeah.
not so good at this, but I'm really good at this as well. So you present your strengths or, what that you feel are because of your dyslexia or whatever it may be. It's very easy to focus on what you can't do. It's a little bit harder to focus on what you can do and to blow your own trumpet. But it is important to think about that as well.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. And Sue, are we right in thinking that just because I haven't disclosed as I've come into the organisation, if it's years from now, 2 years in, I can still disclose then I'm not in trouble for hiding or whatever might we think our employer may think. Am I right in thinking we can disclose our differences at any stage of our employment journey?
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes it's not necessary until you've got a change of immediate line manager. You might have found that everybody was supporting you, and suddenly there's a big change in staff, and things become more apparent, and then it becomes necessary to disclose it. We actually had somebody this week who was scared to disclose their problems, and on the helpline, our helpline discussed it with them, and they decided that the best way forward was to do a short screening test and take it along to HR as a discussion document, and to open up the subject like that, because sometimes it can be difficult to start the conversation.
So there's different routes in depending on where you're at. And again, I know we've said this a lot this evening, but I know the helpline will be there, Sue, like you say, with that caller to support on whatever that looks like for an individual. Okay, so thank you, expert. Last question, I'm going to come to each of you about this, just to give me a sample of some great workplace adjustments that we might put in. And just to be clear what an adjustment is, it's the kind of changes that we would have at work to support, yes, our areas of challenge, but ideally as well, maybe some of the areas of things that we're good at, our areas of strength, which comes back to what Kath was saying, that sandwich approach, which I love. So experts, I'll come to each and every one, but the question is, what are examples of simple workplace adjustments? So what adjustments can make a big difference? Kath, can I come to you first?
We've already mentioned technology, but going sort of the complete opposite to technology would be something like whiteboard, where you make notes on, for example, things you need to do. You colour code them. Red things have to be done today, yellow things have to be done tomorrow, and green things by the end of the week. And the advantage of a whiteboard is you can wipe things off very easily.
Yes.
So you just move your yellow things, and you can use Post-its to do this as well. Have your three traffic light system and move things from one column to another. And it's a visual, tactile reminder to help you organise your day. And you can do it for any aspect of your life, basically.
Love it.
So it's the opposite end of technology.
A filtering. And it's nice to have a variety of things, not just the technology. Love it. And it's like a filtering system. Brilliant. Thank you, Kath. Kim, give us an idea.
I like to think about things like that somebody may have some sensory issues or be very distractible. They might like to have some noise cancelling headphones.
Great. Yeah.
Or some people like to listen to certain types of music or noise, kind of white noise on headphones while they work. Some people may like to be in a quieter part of the office, or a quiet room. Or one of my favorite ones I heard was someone who had sensory issues and found the bright lights very difficult. So they used to wear sort of tinted glasses or a visor at work, when they're in the office. But then when they went in the staff room, they used to like to turn the light off, which would upset the other colleagues. So the manager, who was obviously a good problem solver, put a dimmer switch in. And I always think it's such a clever idea, such a simple solution, which had just such a tremendous impact. So, which most adjustments we find do really. They can be very simple and easy to think up and have a big impact. Would you agree, Sue?
Sue, what are your thoughts about an adjustment?
I think Kim's pinched them all, but I don't. I do remember, people ringing the helpline saying they were in trouble for always being late. I mean, dyslexics do find it hard to be organised. Well, not just dyslexics, but ADHD people. And I'm not sure about ASD. I think they're probably more organised. I can't generalise, can we? So I think flexible hours, is quite a good easy adjustment to accept that maybe they'd be late, but they'd stay late, and to accept that. It's really hard to be organised when you've got a difficulty.
And I think thank you, Sue. I think in that flexibility makes hybrid working as well, which is obviously since the COVID has remained quite popular with folks. They're great. Thank you, guys. I think I would add into the mix, and this is one that I'm getting asked a lot about at the minute, is body doubling. So parallel working with another person, helping you trying to navigate through some tasks and so on. Really easy now on Teams, whether you try and do it informally with a colleague or maybe something a bit more formal. I know some organisations have set up remote cafes now where you can dip in. The atmosphere is almost, how can I put, library-like. It's quiet, but everybody's working away, and just that presence of having somebody else alongside you in that way can really help with concentration and focus. So yeah.
Can I just say I really liked Kim's example of the dimmer switch. As soon as she started talking, I thought, oh yeah. And I think sometimes just general chats can just spark an idea that you may not have thought of, to put a dimmer switch in. How genius is that? But just, sometimes someone can be struggling, so chatting can actually give you an idea of a support that would really help you, that you perhaps have not. It's that idea of, well, why didn't I think of that, years ago? Why didn't I get some post-it notes or whatever it may be?
Yeah, which is such wise words, Kath, and brings me really nicely as we round up this conversation then. We hope those who've listened have found it useful. Is the importance of connection and talking to each other and realizing that we're not alone. We've heard from our experts in a fair few of the answers tonight that connection is super important, including about what we may need and what can help in the workplace. You've also heard us reference the ADC helpline a number of times because the team are there for you. You're not alone. It is free to reach out to these trusted experts to get the support that maybe you are wanting as you're thinking about neurodiversity this celebration week. The email then to reach out to the team is help@adc.org.uk, or the phone number is 0777 4846 657, and they're there on the slide for you. So please remember, you are not on your own. I'm hoping, experts, that this could be the first of many times that we join in this way to have some of these conversations. Thank you so much for sharing wisdom. These are questions that a lot of folks will have and not always sure where to turn to get the answer. So thank you for sharing thoughts in that way. Thank you to those who are listening. Please keep in touch. The information is here to reach out to the ADC, and please remember that you are not alone. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Right.